Today's topic of discussion is persons of unsound mind. The persons who are incompetent to contract or the persons who are incapacitated to contract. Already we have discussed law relating to minus agreement. So further, persons who are mentally incapacitated or intoxicated are generally deemed to lack of contractual capacity. What is sound mind for the purpose of making a valid contract has been defined by section 12 as under. A person is said to be of sound mind for the purpose of making a contract if at the time when he makes it he is capable of understanding the contract and of forming a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. So, a person who is usually of sound mind but occasionally of unsound mind may make a contract when he is of sound mind. A person who is usually of sound mind but occasionally of unsound mind may not make a contract when he is of unsound mind. The test of soundness of mind. The test of soundness of mind is whether at the time of the contract the person has number one capacity to understand the business concern and number two ability to form a rational judgment and number three as to its effect on person's interest. So this is the test of soundness of mind. The contracts made by persons of unsound mind, like minors, are also void. The reason is that a contract requires assent of two minds, but the person of unsound mind has nothing which the law recognizes him as a mind. This provision is further clarified by the following two illustrations attached to section 12. A patient in a lunatic asylum who is at intervals of sound mind may contract during those intervals. Suppose he is at interval, if he is of sound mind, the contract during those intervals are valid. Another example, a sane man who is delirious from fever or who is so drunk that he cannot understand the term of the contract or form a rational judgment as to its effect on his interest cannot contract whilst such delirium or drunkenness last. The persons of unsound mind are number one, idiocy. Idiocy is an extreme form of mental unsoundness of mind. A person who is devoid of any power of thinking or rational judgment is called an idiot. All agreement other than those for necessaries of life with idiots are absolutely void. So idiocy is of a permanent nature. Second is lunatics. A lunatic person whose mental powers are deranged due to some mental strain or personal experience. An agreement made with lunatic except those made during lucid intervals. Lucid interval means period in which he is in his senses for necessaries supplied to lunatics are valid and the property of lunatic can be taken when a lunatic enters into contract while he is of sound mind, that is capable of understanding the nature of the contract. In that time the contract is valid, otherwise it is void. We can discuss the illustration for this. A enters into a contract with B for sale of goods when he is of sound mind. A latter becomes of unsound mind, the contract is valid because during soundness of mind he has entered into an agreement, so that contract is valid. Third category of persons of unsound mind is drunken or intoxicated person. Drunkenness results from intoxication. A drunken person suffers from temporary incapacity to contract. A person under the influence of drink or drugs stands on the same footing as lunatic. An agreement with drunkard is void if he is under the influence of drugs or any drink. Such agreement is void. Apart from minors and the person with unsound minds, there are other people who cannot enter into contract. So those are the persons who are disqualified by law. So that that is do not have, such persons, they do not have the capacity to enter into contract. The reasons for disqualification can include political status, legal status, etc. Some such persons are foreign sovereigns and ambassadors, alien enemy, convicts, insolvents, etc. So let us discuss in detail. First one, the persons who are disqualified are as follows. First, alien enemies. An alien enemy is a citizen of a country. India is at citizen of a country India is at war with. Any contracts made during the war period with an alien enemy are void. A person who is not a subject or citizen of India is called an alien. He is a foreigner domiciled in India and is a competent person to contract and may be free to enter into contracts with citizen of India. But the state may impose restrictions. Contracts cannot be entered into with an alien enemy without a license from the government. On the outbreak of war, contracts already entered into with an alien enemy are either suspended during the continuance of hostilities or dissolved. Illustration: X of a country A orders goods from Y of a country B. The goods are shipped, and before they could reach B country, A country declares war with the country of B. The contract between X and Y becomes void because an agreement with the alien enemy are opposed to public policy and therefore it is void. Another category of person, foreign sovereign and ambassadors who are disqualified. Foreign sovereigns and ambassadors are representative of a foreign state and have got a particular privilege in that they can enter into contract and enforce them in courts, but no contract can be enforced against them in any court except under certain circumstances. They are protected by diplomatic privilege. Diplomats and ambassadors of foreign countries enjoy contractual immunity in India. One cannot sue them in Indian courts unless they submit themselves to the jurisdiction of Indian court. Additionally, sanction from the central government is also required. In such cases, however, foreign sovereign has the authority to enforce the contracts against the third person in Indian courts. Third, persons who are disqualified by law is insolvents. An insolvent is a person who is declared bankrupt or insolvent, against whom insolvency proceedings have been filed in court. Insolvent means divalkhor, bankrupt. On adjudication, insolvent's property vests in the official receiver or official assignee. Once a person is declared as insolvent, his property vests with the official receiver, which is appointed by the court. So he takes care of the property of the insolvent person. Whatever the dealings or whatever transaction he is making, that is on behalf of the insolvent person. So official receiver takes possession of his assets since the person does not have any power over his assets. That the insolvent person do not have any power over his asset, does not have any power over his assets. He cannot enter into contract concerning the property. Illustration: A enters into a contract for sale of goods with B. Before the sale takes place, an insolvency suit is filed against A. A sell the goods to B during pendency of insolvency proceeding. The contract is very much valid because before adjudication of insolvent, he has entered into an agreement. So such agreement is valid. Number 4, convicts or felon. Felon means rajdroh. Convicts is a person undergoing imprisonment. He is capable of entering into contract. He is competent and he is capable of entering into contract, and the incapacity ends when sentence expires or punishment comes to an end or punishment finish. A convict, ROP, a convict cannot enter into a contract while he is undergoing his sentence. However, he regains his capacity to enter into contract upon completion of his sentence. As soon as the sentence period has expired, his incapacity also comes to an end. For example, A is serving his sentence in a jail. Any contract signed by him during this period when he is undergoing sentence is void because he cannot fulfill his obligation or he cannot perform the contract, and therefore the contract is void. Number 5, corporation. A company is artificial person, or you can say it is a juristic person in eye of law created by law. It can only contract through its board of directors. So here there is the company is personally cannot enter into contract through its board of director. Only corporation can enter into contract, whereas corporation cannot enter into contract of marriage. So these are the persons who are disqualified by law from contracting. Thank you.